Mic check, check. Mic check, check. Mic check, 1, 2. Hello, hello. I think we're good, yeah? How's it going, everybody? All right, you guys ready to do this? Hey, guys, what's going on? Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon to people in the U.S. Good morning, good evening to everyone else around the world. This is another episode of hashtag TNT JoFi. Tech news that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. I am your host today, Jerome Ortega. Today is episode something of this show because I lost count, and this is also day number something in quarantine because I also lost count. But I hope everybody's doing well. Hopefully everybody's staying safe, and all that good stuff that people say. So welcome everybody. Nice to have you. I am wearing floral stuff today, and actually it's a little different of a show today because I am actually streaming on Facebook just to see how that goes. I don't know if anyone's even going to go in there, but I figured I pay for this service, I might as well use it. So I am streaming on Facebook as well. Anyway, we kind of have a couple of things to talk about. It is not the busiest of tech days today, but it's still some info to discuss, and so we'll have a chat. We'll talk in chat as well. Talk about the new things that have come by so far. WWDC for iOS 14, Watch OS, all the new stuff as far as Apple goes, and then all the rumors going on with Android stuff right now. Again, it's not a ton of stuff. I know there's stuff that's coming down the road with OnePlus, and we talked about this yesterday, and apparently somebody figured out what the name is for the new OnePlus mid-range device or budget device or whatever you want to call it, but we'll talk about that today. So before we get into it, go ahead and say hi to everybody in here. Paul Hendricks. Hi, Jerome. Hey, Paul. How's it going, man? Glad to have you again. Appreciate you coming in the stream. RSILINNYC. What's up, party people? Hey, Android stud. What's going on, RSILINNYC? God damn it. Oh, I didn't mean to swear. I was 2 days in a row. Well, actually, that'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be okay. Anyway, I keep forgetting. I got to add your name into the intro, outro. Anyway, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Hopefully this doesn't get demonetized like all of my other streams have been. Glad you could be here. They shouldn't demonetize me for that one time, right? That's not that bad of a word. Paul was in shower, had to cut it short when I realized it's almost 9. Well, I'm glad that you cut your shower short just for this show. Paul, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Glad you could make it right at the start. Salwonk, hey, Salwonk, what's going on? Nord is because Carl Pei is from the Nord region in China. Well, thank you. I was wondering what that was about. So we'll talk about that. Nord, if you guys don't know, is what apparently the new OnePlus device is going to be called. Maybe. I guess Nord. It just sounds so, I don't know. It just sounds different. Not something that I expected. Team Varai, what's up, everyone? Team Varai, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. I don't know. My mic seems a little low. I don't know. I'll just keep. Yeah, like I'm hunched over. Give me a second. And this stand isn't the best. Okay, better, kind of better, maybe. North sounds very VPN. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Not sponsored by them, by the way. So no, I don't even use Nord. So okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the LG Velvet. That's the first story we have today. Apparently some people have the LG Velvet right now, and I've been curious about how the LG Velvet would be performing, not only performance wise with the Snapdragon 765, but how good the cameras are, you know, how good the build quality is, since everyone keeps talking about how nice it looks or how beautiful it is. But we'll talk about it. And actually, that's, I guess, the beautiful came there because that was the title of this article. This article from Android Central is titled LG Velvet Review Beautifully Flawed. That isn't the best way to start off calling having a review for this phone, is to call it beautifully flawed. LG's new sub flagship shines with a striking design and dual screen, but fumbles some of the basics. If there's anything that you don't want to fumble, it's the basics. At least in my opinion. The long-running LG G series retires this year, and in its place comes a new mid-level flagship built around design and aesthetic beauty. The LG Velvet mixes up the stale design language seen in some of the company's recent phones and also boasts 5G connectivity thanks to Qualcomm's Snapdragon 765G platform. In fact, it'll be among the first 765-powered phones to arrive in the West. LG's dual screen is back too, with a new slimmer and more stylish version of the accessory shipping for the Velvet. When it says it'll be among the first 765 powered phones to arrive in the West, how soon are they talking about? I wonder if this new OnePlus Nord, or whatever they're going to call it, if that's what they're going to call it, is going to be coming first before the Velvet. The dual screen was pretty goofy a year ago when it first debuted alongside the V50. In the past year, however, LG has refined the hardware and software to the point where it's genuinely useful, improving gaming and multitasking similarly to a phone with a true foldable screen. So actually, I would love to see how well a dual screen is. I have never used a dual screen device. I think, at least in the past, the only use I've seen, or at least that would be beneficial for me for a dual screen, is when I'm watching a live stream or I'm watching, let's say, a previous stream or something on Twitch and I want to read the comments as well as watch video, then I could see a use for dual screen. Otherwise, I don't really have any other idea why I would be using it. I don't really multitask in that way, but I haven't read this article, so we'll see what they have to say. But even though this might be LG's best looking and most useful phone yet, it's let down by weaknesses that belie its status as a veteran Android phone maker. The Velvet's camera on current firmware is not great. Okay, that's a bad start. And a 60 hertz display combined with some strange touch scrolling issues can at times make for a frustrating experience. That doesn't sound good either. Yes, those are the basics, and these are things that should be nailed down from the start. I'm not too worried about the 60 hertz, but if it's having, as they say here, strange touch scrolling issues, that already makes it a little tough to swallow. The fact too that the camera, and that's the thing, that was the thing that I've been pointing out for a while, is how good will this camera be? Is it going to be decent? But it looks like they're saying that it isn't, but we'll get into it. We'll read. And obviously this is one review. This is one anecdotal, review from, but it's still a pretty big, tech site or whatever. So, take it as it will, but let's get into it. So, okay. The bottom line, with expected pricing around the US, so $750. If there's one thing that we talked about, if you convert the price that they're selling it for in Korea right now, it's around $730. So, I mean, I already think $700 is already pushing it. Again, let's talk about the price at $700 US, and this same chipset might be coming in the upcoming OnePlus phone, right? The Nord or the Z or whatever they want to call it. And the reported price on that is around $350 or $400. So like half the price, pretty much half the price. The dual screen accessory in particular might be its greatest asset, giving many folding phone benefits at a much lower price. Well, hold on. That $700 price point is not for dual screen, is it? If it is $700 for dual screen, then maybe the price is a little more justified. But if it's just for that one display, I mean, then that's another story. I'm assuming it's just for one display. I feel like if you buy that dual screen, it's going to cost, I don't know, whatever much extra. Is it $100 extra or whatever it is? I don't know. Direct rivals like the OnePlus 8 offer a better balance of specs and features around that same price point, and fans of the dual screen concept would be better off bagging a discounted V60. I mean, at least they're very straightforward and saying, hey, maybe you're better off with a V60 instead. So beautiful design, which is what I feel like a lot of us have been saying as far as the colors and all of that stuff. Like, it looks great. Dual screen add-on is genuinely useful. Again, I'd like to see how they use that dual screen. Dependable all-day battery life, solid specs for the price, including 5G. 5G isn't the biggest pro for me. It's not something that I think about often, at least today. Maybe in 2021, maybe in 2022, 5G will really take off. But right now for 2020, especially with all of us at home, I just don't think it's the biggest deal right now. So as far as the cons, a weak camera with over sharpening in photos, that's not too nice to see. Slow fingerprint. These are very basic things, guys. To know that you might have a phone that has scrolling issues, that has a slow fingerprint reader with no face unlock option, and then scrolling physics issues in some apps, that isn't the best thing to see. It's not something that I would have expected from at least the basics of a phone, which is, imagine if these were the main issues on an iPhone. Imagine all the flack Apple would get for that, because there are scrolling issues, or because, well, it doesn't have a fingerprint reader, but let's say Face ID didn't work properly, or let's say Touch ID on the iPhone SE didn't work as well, or it was slow. They would get so much flack for that, and rightfully so, because these are the essentials on a phone. You want to get these parts right. Out of anything else, the basics should be down pat. Like, that should be 100% no issues. Okay, so design and display. The Velvet is probably the best looking phone LG has ever produced. While there's not a whole lot of room left to make a glass and metal rectangle stand out from the crowd, LG's new phone is pleasing to the eyes, comfortable to hold, and significantly less slippery than some of the company's other models. LG emphasizes symmetry in the Velvet's chassis design, with the gentle curve of the back panel mirroring the horizontal corners of the display, blah, blah, blah. It sounds very markety. Even the water droplet effect created by the rear camera placement is an improvement on the large visor-style camera module of the LG V series. This is the raindrop effect they're talking about, kind of in descending order of size for the lenses. While the metal contact points around the edges of the phone are extremely thin, I found it easy enough to hold on to. Unlike many of the matte textured phones from LG's back catalog, the glossy finish helps with grip, and the curved edges, which are more pronounced than I've seen in an LG phone before, also help disguise the Velvet's relatively large size. Those side edges are also home to the standard loadout of buttons, power, and volume, in addition to the dedicated Google Assistant key. Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize they have a dedicated key for it. Meanwhile, the bottom bezel houses that rarest of things, a 3.5mm headphone jack, alongside the USB-C port and bottom firing speaker. Note, however, that this is a plain old headphone jack and doesn't feature the vaunted quad DAC of more expensive LG phones. This is something that we've talked about in the past. I think there was an article or two that said it wasn't going to have a quad DAC when this phone first came out. There was some kind of justifiable, I don't know what the word I want to use here is. We could justify the price maybe for $700 because it's like, well, they have really good hardware, audio hardware. There's going to be a quad DAC in it like they always have, and this time there isn't one. And so I see bottom firing speaker, but does that mean there's no front facing one on the top? Is it just one single bottom firing speaker? Because that's also kind of a letdown. And again, we're talking about a 700-ish price point. 700 is probably the low end of this phone. The Velvet's audio is pretty middle of the road with little to praise or complain about. The main loudspeaker paired with the slimline earpiece tweeter. Okay, so there is an earpiece tweeter. Provides ample volume for casual YouTube sessions, but sounds a little thin at higher volume levels. So decent audio, not the best. The display itself is a 6.8-inch POLED panel. So it's a FHD plus, tiny dimpled notch up top. LG continues to resist the move towards hole punch OLEDs, and the Velvet's teardrop cutout is inoffensive enough. You guys know how I feel about this. Whether it's a teardrop, water drop, hole punch, notch, I would rather have a full screen and give me a selfie pop-up camera, but that's me. I know other people feel differently. Other people feel similarly, but I would rather have a full screen than have any kind of distraction on the front of my phone. So daylight visibility, even under bright light or bright sunlight, was passable, and the manual brightness slider can get it dark enough for comfortable night viewing. So the display, they're saying here, to be pleasing and vibrant, though default white balance level was noticeably cooler than most other OLEDs I've used. Well, and then he's saying here that it can be easily changed in the display settings menu, so not bad. This is a 60 hertz panel, though. That's not a surprise. After all, LG's flagship V60 also eschews, am I saying that right? It's not a word I use, obviously. The higher refresh rates seen in rival brands' phones, but 90 and 120 hertz screens are becoming more common, even at the Velvet's price point. In particular, the vanilla OnePlus 8 manages a 90 hertz display and beefier silicon for around the same price as LG's offering. Actually, that's a really good point, too. Think about that really quick. This LG Velvet has a Snapdragon 765G, 6 gigs RAM, 128 gigs internal storage, but the OnePlus 8, which is also at a $700 price point and probably will be cheaper than this Velvet, or probably already, I mean, it's $700 for the OnePlus 8, has a Snapdragon 865 series chipset, has the best chipset you can buy right now, and that's $700. So that's something to think about if you're thinking about getting an LG Velvet. And that's why I've talked about the LG Velvet maybe being priced a little too high. And then we can't even, talk about a quad DAC anymore, because now that's gone. That's out of the game here. And then whatever issues that they're talking about here, as far as the camera, scrolling issues, slow fingerprint reader, is it worth the price? I mean, at least from what I'm reading, yeah, it looks really nice, but I don't know, maybe the specs under the hood are just not up to par. And I don't know if that's worth $700 out of your pocket. Is it worth cheaper than that? Maybe, but we also have to think about what's coming. We can look at that OnePlus Nord or whatever that's coming for $350. You could buy 2 of those for this Velvet. Again, there are a lot of things to consider. Obviously, you got to think what's important to you and what to prioritize. But again, I don't have the phone. I am just going through the review. I'm giving you my opinion on it. So anyway, yeah. And then also no 60 or no 90 hertz, the OnePlus 8, right? The OnePlus 8 has 90 hertz, right? I'm forgetting. I believe it does. Anyway, we can double check. I can check in chat. I will actually probably take a break and then go into chat, but let me just finish this paragraph here. So let's see, aside from the refresh rate, I've also noticed some weirdness with scrolling acceleration in some situations, like quickly swiping between apps using gesture controls. It's hard to describe, but the physics of certain scrolling mechanics just seem slightly sluggish, even compared to other 60 hertz handsets. So again, that is not promising, but maybe, if anything, that can be updated, in a software update. Now, how good is LG about software updates? I don't think they have the best track record there, but if they can at least fix the scrolling issues or whatever scrolling issues there are here, then maybe that's, a bit of saving grace at that point. Okay, let me get into chat. We will go through this entire article because I was genuinely interested in this phone just to see also how good the performance is when it comes to the Snap 765. But let me get into chat and then we'll discuss. So let me go ahead and just say hi to everybody else who I missed. I see Tana is in here. What's up, good sir? Tana, what's going on, man? Tana's so lit. Welcome to the stream, man. Glad to have you. What is that? Velvet Coming to America. Hey, is Coming to America 2 coming out this year or next year? I think it's next year. Tana, appreciate you stopping by, man. Glad to have you. Tovez is in here. I know why Tovez is in here. It's because I'm talking about the LG Velvet. Tovez Noajagu. Nice to see you, man. Haven't seen you in a minute. Glad to have you stop by. Okay, so let me see here. Paul Hendrick says Pro 2 Velvets, no quad DAC. That sucks. Yeah, I know. And that's something I think a lot of people are shopping for when they're getting an LG phone, is they know that it's going to have premium audio quality, and then to not have that DAC is, I'm sure it's frustrating for a lot of people who were maybe looking into this phone. Team Verizon says, give me a Note 9 style bezel any day. Tana also says, everything on the phone sounds cool, but the absence of a quad DAC really sucks. That's what LG phones are known for. Exactly. At this point, at least the way I've seen it is, when LG brings a phone out, that's something I could always say, well, at least it has a quad DAC. At least the audio hardware is going to be, steps above other phones at this price point, or what. It's at least a pro that I could always put on LG side, and then they don't have it now. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. So no bang for your buck, SMH. I can live without 90 hertz. I'm the same way. It isn't the biggest deal for me, but, it looks like it is missing a couple things here. So let's continue on. Let's talk about the performance and battery life. Again, guys, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me and having this stream with me. So performance and battery life, the LG Velvet runs Qualcomm's new mid-tier Snapdragon 765 platform. And again, this Snapdragon 765 is what we will be seeing reportedly in the new OnePlus budget phone, mid-range phone, whatever you want to call it, $400-ish phone, which is apparently going to be called the OnePlus Nord. We'll talk about that a little later. Or the OnePlus Z, maybe, or people were saying it might be called the OnePlus 8 Lite, whatever they call it. That is reportedly having a Snapdragon 765 chipset. The other phone that's supposed to have that is the upcoming Pixel 5, which is supposed to be released later this year. Now, whether they use the 765, we don't know for sure. There are other iterations of the 765 that has come out, which is the Qualcomm announced the Snapdragon 768G, which is an overclocked version of the 765. Now, whether they're going to use that, it doesn't really seem likely, but you never know. And then there are talks about an updated version of, or a successor to, the Snapdragon 765G, which would have been the Snapdragon 775G, but we haven't heard too much about that yet. So let me get back into it. And so benchmarks have pegged the chip around the level of a Snapdragon 845, though with efficiency benefits thanks to its 7-nanometer manufacturing process. That's good, at least. Bottom line, in terms of raw horsepower, you're getting the power of a flagship phone from around 18 months ago with better battery life and 5G connectivity. And again, at a cheaper price, which is why a lot of manufacturers, I believe, are doing this. Rounding out the spec sheet is an ample. Okay, so this has 8 gigs of RAM. I take that back. I had said 6 earlier. It has 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, and then it also has a micro SD slot. So for people who need that, that is another pro on top of it, and a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, which is a very big enough battery. An appropriate loadout for a mid to high end device like this. As far as other specs, so 3 cameras in the back, right? Primary, ultra wide, a depth camera, a selfie camera, fast wired charging, Qualcomm or quick charge 4 plus. Has wireless charging as well, in-display fingerprint sensor, IP68 certified for dust and water resistance, and then it has like a whole slew of colors, which is great. So I've said this in the past. The color palette that they have, or that they've chosen for this lineup of phones, looks really nice. It is a beautiful phone, at least from what I've seen so far. I've already touched on some of the touchscreen wonk I experienced, aside from scrolling, sometimes feeling a little off. The LG Velvet has been a quick and reliable performer. I didn't run into any noticeable memory management issues or slowdowns. That's good to know. That is the one thing that I have been wondering the most with the Snapdragon 765 is how well it's going to perform. Because while I'm not looking at the Velvet, I'm thinking about the Pixel 5 and seeing how well the Pixel 5 is going to perform with that same chipset. So at least to see here that it seems pretty solid is good. Either in everyday apps like Twitter and Chrome, saying no memory issues, no slowdowns, or games such as Mario Kart Tour or Asphalt 9. What's less ideal, however, is the Velvet's relatively sluggish in-screen fingerprint scanner, which is noticeably slower than Android flagships from the past couple of years. See, you know what? And I will tell you, reading that sentence, saying that fingerprint reader is slower than even some of the past flagships, honestly, that sounds like a deal breaker. Because if that is the only way I'm going to be able to get into they're saying there's no face unlock. I mean, I could use a pin, but I feel like we're past those times at this point. And I feel like our technology in 2020 is good enough. It's matured enough to have a good fingerprint reader. I still don't know why we're using in-display fingerprint readers if they're not better than the rear mounted ones or the front ones that have an actual finger or an actual physical fingerprint reader. I understand not having it in the front because you don't want to, mess up the front bezel or the front bezel, the display. You want to give the presence of a more what am I trying to say? Full display is what I'm trying to say, with minimal bezel. So put it in the back. It's not like LG hasn't put a rear fingerprint reader on the back before. And I guess the thing that also gets to me is if they knew that it was going to be slow, because LG's not dumb. They know that the fingerprint reader in the front, if it's going to be sluggish, they know that. They should have either retooled or re-engineered and either fixed that or went ahead and just put it in the back. So yeah, in a lot of ways, that kind of sounds like a deal breaker for me. And I feel like it might be a deal breaker for other people too, if that fingerprint reader is such an issue. Because I am not just going to keep my phone completely unlocked. I don't really want to use a pin either. I just find that would be frustrating. Having a mask on my face when I'm out and having to unlock my iPhone 11 Pro, having to put a PIN code is so frustrating as it is. Yes, these are first world problems, but you guys know where I'm coming from. So it says here, it's reasonably reliable, but definitely takes a few extra fractions of a second to unlock compared to contemporary in-screen scanners I've used. And again, we can complain and say, well, that's first world problems, Jerome, but we're also paying $700 for a phone. Let's not forget. And if we're actually taking the time to read through this and spend your money properly, maybe you want to have a phone that can unlock regardless of extra fractions of a second, or having to do it twice or 3 times instead of just having it done right the first time. And that's all the more problematic considering the face unlock feature seen in previous LG phones has been removed in this model. So there's no biometric backup option. Decent battery life and everyday performance, but a frustratingly slow fingerprint scanner. The perception of speed compared to a 120 hertz or even 90 hertz smartphone is something entirely separate separate though. There's no denying that the Velvet just feels less responsive to the touch than other phones that pack more hertz. Super fast screens are power hungry though, and one benefit of the Velvet's more ordinary refresh rate is improved longevity. The built-in 4300 milliamp hour battery easily lasted me a full day, even with heavier use on LTE. Although my unit was a 5G equipped version, I wasn't able to test the device on a 5G network, so your mileage may vary there. With my usage patterns, I was looking at around 18 hours off the charger with between 5 and 6 hours of screen on time. That doesn't sound bad at all. Is he talking about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time with dual screen though, or is that just one? Predictable battery intensive uses included photography, gaming, and anything involving extended use. Okay, so yeah, it is the LG dual screen attachment, since the phone's main battery powers the dual screen. As for refills, you're looking at Qualcomm Quick Charge 4 Plus support over a cable, as well as Qi charging, though be aware the latter option is fairly slow. LG's using standard Qi as opposed to anything quicker and more exotic. The phone reported around 4 hours remaining to charge from 30% to full on my Google Pixel stand, so not the best. For wired charging, Quick Charge 4 Plus isn't the fastest around, but that's forgivable in light of the phone's solid longevity. And that's a fair enough assessment. Okay, so maybe I could use that for dual screen, having, maybe using maps, I suppose. Again, I don't know if I really would, but I guess I would really have to try a dual screen before, I knock it. The LG Velvet runs Android 10 out of the box, layered with LG UX 9.1. For the uninitiated, LG's Android software has taken on a Samsung look-alike aesthetic over the past year, with design elements from the company's first-party apps clearly aping its local rivals' look and feel. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. It's feature-rich as you'd expect, and the design language is consistent throughout the phone's software. If you're a fan of bright colors, rounded rectangles, and a lot of whites and light grays, you'll be happy with what LG's brought to the table. Okay, this is very long. I didn't mean to get too into it, but you guys know how I feel when it comes to Android. I would much rather just have stock Android, but I haven't seen LG's UI in a minute. For any of you guys that own an LG phone that has the newer UX or UI, how do you like it? I'm asking you guys in chat if any of you guys are using a newer LG phone. Is it nice? Could you live without it? Are there some things you'd rather have, or are you like me and you prefer stock Android? I haven't used it in a while. I will say, on the Galaxy A71 that I've been using, on the TCL 10 Pro that I've been using, it doesn't have stock Android, but it seems fairly stock-ish. Like, it's not so bad that I can actually use the stock UI that comes with it. Didn't have to install Nova or anything like that. I mean, I did initially, because at first I was just like, I can't do it. But after giving it some time, I'm like, I could mess with it. The only thing that bothers me is the Galaxy A71 that I have and the app drawer. I just like being able to swipe up and then having all my apps, instead of swiping from swiping to left or right to left or whatever, because Samsung their app drawer isn't like stock Android, and that's the only thing that frustrates me. Anyway, Android 10's gesture navigation is present and works well on the Velvet, and there's now an additional option for a swipe and hold gesture from the outer edge to activate a helpful one-handed reachability mode. LG has spun out its own pop-up view mode for most apps, letting you shrink them down into a floating window for easier multitasking. LG UX is also a very Google-centric smartphone experience. The Google feed has been plugged into LG's home screen. That's good to know. And of course, the dedicated Google Assistant button lets you summon the AI at any time with a single press or in walkie-talkie mode. I feel like all phones should have a dedicated Google Assistant physical button. I think that would be most welcoming, even for a Google Pixel. Why wouldn't you? You guys want to talk about a Google Assistant? Some people don't even know how to properly pull that up on their phones. So why not just give a button for it? I don't know. I think it wouldn't be bad, but I don't know. Maybe more parts means more things that'll break. But on the TCL 10 Pro, it's great. The TCL 10 Pro has a customizable extra physical button that you can do different things with. And I use that for the flashlight or Google Assistant, or I had it for something else and I can't remember. But I don't know. I feel like an extra physical button wouldn't hurt. Anyway, so yeah, Google Assistant, whatever. For the LG Velvet, though, the biggest potential issue with its software isn't what it does or doesn't do right now, but how well it'll be supported in the future. And this is something that we can talk about. It's something that I don't have a lot of experience with because I haven't had an LG phone in a while, but I don't know how good they are in terms of support anymore. The last LG phone I had was a G7, and I had the G5 and the G6. Did I have a G7? Maybe no, I didn't. The last one I had was a G6, and the support was, I didn't get a lot of updates on it, to be fair. And I don't know if they've really improved since then, but the company has a dreadful I should have just read the paragraph. The company has a dreadful track record when it comes to platform updates, trailing the pack with slow-paced Android 10 OTAs, while monthly security updates have been regularly rolled out to the LG phones I've used over the past year. I wouldn't hold my breath for a speedy Android 11 update on any of LG's current devices. So at least let that be something to consider if you are going to spend the money on this phone. Android 11 might not be a thing for you, period, or it might not be a thing for you for a while. So keep that in mind if you are thinking about this phone. The dual screen attachment is the biggest thing the LG Velvet has going for it. The most exciting feature of the LG Velvet, and perhaps its greatest selling point, is its dual screen attachment. Like previous versions for the V50, 60, and G8X, the dual screen encloses the Velvet in a plastic shell and gives it a second display of the same dimensions as its regular screen. Although in this case, the second screen is flat, not curved. When it's closed, a small OLED panel on the outside can show you the time and notification icons. When opened out, you get an expansive new viewport. The dual screen has grown quite a few new features since I last used it on the G8X. More apps, including Google Photos, YouTube, Gmail, Chrome, and others, are supported in, quote, wide view, which spans the app over the entire combined width of the two displays. That's actually really cool. I'm glad that they're able to do that. I'm glad that they're using their technology of dual screen to actually make it more functional, to give the user, I guess, a bigger screen. I guess is the easiest way to put it. And in turn, for people who need it, more productivity, more efficiency, all the good things that come with having a second screen, right? Juggling what effectively amounts to two full-size smartphones might sound cumbersome at first, but it's surprisingly intuitive once you get the hang of it. Both screens have their own launcher layout, and apps will launch on whichever screen you tap their icon. That's pretty cool. Most of the dual screens controls for features like swapping screens or activating wide mode live behind a floating menu bar on the primary screen. Apps can also be easily juggled between screens with a 3-finger swipe. The LG dual screen isn't as futuristic or impressive as a real foldable like the Samsung Galaxy Fold or Huawei Mate X's, but it does deliver most of the multitasking benefits of those devices at a much lower price point in a much more durable form factor. My only complaint has to do with the docking and undocking process. Because of the off-center camera cutout, wiggling the LG Velvet free can be a challenge. The first few times undocking the phone can be an anxious experience as you try to avoid snapping either it or the dual screen in half. Hopefully that's not the case. So cameras. And, you know, this is big for me more than anything else. For me, the Velvet's biggest letdown is its camera setup. LG has done a great job making the camera module itself look appealing, but the photos themselves leave a lot to be desired. The more I read this article, the more it just seems like, a form over function kind of issue. Like, it looks great. It has awesome aesthetics, but there are a couple of things here that just don't work right. And whether or not that can be fixed in a software update has yet to be seen. Whether they do that, I don't know. We've also talked about how the software support might not be the best. So yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. If this is something that you're looking into, keep these things in mind. Curiously, it's LG software post-processing that seems to be most at fault here. On paper, the Velvet has decent camera specs: 48 megapixel primary shooter, f 1.8 aperture, f 2.2 aperture, ultra wide at 8 megapixels, and an additional 5 megapixel camera handles depth sensing duties. In terms of colors, low light performance, and responsiveness, there's not much to complain about. There's even the obligatory AI scene detection mode that does a decent job of detecting what you're shooting and subtly adjusting the camera settings accordingly. But LG's camera app insists on an obnoxious level of sharpening, especially in photos taken with the primary camera. That's not so good. This leads to leaves, branches, or any area with a lot of grain or fine detail being given an ugly mosaic effect. Even clouds can be seen to exhibit weird, unnatural levels of sharpness and definition, while clean blue skies take on an unusual level of grain, even in perfectly lit landscape scenes. And the same effect seems to be responsible for chroma noise creeping into 2x zoom shots, even in well-lit conditions. The same effects are visible in video from the Velvet's main camera. I was impressed by the camera's video stabilization in 1080p mode. So there you go. At least shooting with the ultra wide, the over sharpening is present but less noticeable. The front facer 2 comes away unscathed, shooting crisply defined selfies at 16 megapixels with a run-of-the-mill 29 millimeter focal length. So, okay, as far as the pictures, let me make this a little smaller so you guys get the whole photo here. That is not what okay, there. Wow, it's still pretty big. Okay, there we go. I mean, it looks deep and rich, real contrasty. Over sharpened, I don't know, maybe I would need a more full shot to really go through it and zoom in. But it doesn't look okay. That looks really over sharpened. This is really, I was going to say the rest of it don't look bad. Oh, there we go. We can go for a full screen here. These don't look as awful. Like I could mess with these. These aren't bad for me to use. This, however, is really over sharpened. I don't know if this is a zoomed in shot or if this is just a full shot in general, but this is no good at all. This is also really over sharpened too. You can everything just seems like there's like the sharpness filter or whatever was just dialed to 11 on it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's okay. That's it. I thought there would have been at least more. It's decent. It isn't the best. Whoever wrote this article isn't lying about the over sharpening on it, but yeah. So there's not a ton to really go through here, but just a quick assessment of it. Indoors and in scenes with less granular detail, the camera's excessive processing is less problematic. In fact, the Velvet's main camera performs competently in darker conditions. Yeah, and that's why those dark shots, I felt like they look pretty good. I could have used it using its night mode feature, but that can't make up for what seems to be an incomplete and limiting camera experience. I mean, could the answer here be as simple as Gcam? Could we just use Gcam and then everything will be fixed? I don't know. And then again, we'd have to wait for third party to get that. You'll also miss out on a true telephoto camera, though that's acceptable considering the Velvet's Korean price of just over US $700. I don't know. You know what is a good, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you can't say that the iPhone 11 has that. But again, let's think about this $700 price point. We're talking in turn. Oh, I see a super chat. I'll get to that. I see Vitana. Tana, give me a second, man. We're talking about a $700 price point. Remember what phones you could buy at $700. Later this year, when the iPhone 12 comes out, $650 is the rumor. At $650, you're probably going to get one of the best camera phones on the market today. And what we're seeing right here with the Velvet, I just don't know if it's worth it. I mean, is it worth it to you at that price point? Slow fingerprint reader, issues with touchscreen or scrolling, and then a subpar camera, $700. I don't know. Again, something to think about. Anyway, I will go back to chat because I see the super chat here from Tana. Great stream, Jay. I'm about to start recording. Had a blast with you in the chat. Tana, thank you so much, guys. Also, be sure to show Tana some love as well. Tana is also a YouTuber, has a ton of great stuff as well, and is also a fellow Chicagoan. So Tana and I come from different sides of the city. Tana on the south side, I'm from the north side, but there's always love for both sides of the city. Tana, thank you so much, man. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for engaging in chat. Thank you for also being a member, a YouTube member, and thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Much love, much love. So have a good stream, man, or recording. I'm not sure if you're streaming or recording, but have a good one, man. You know what? We need to have a session one day. Either you come on mine or I'll come say what's up on yours, but we'll talk. We'll talk. Tana, thank you so much. All right, let me go ahead and scroll back up here. So sorry, Tana's been talking the whole time. Let's see here. RSILINYC says, "You're good, Jerome. I hope Google can stop considering you a quote habitual line stepper." I know, man. I don't know what to do with YouTube. That's why I'm also recording this on Facebook at this point. Whether or not people see it, I don't know, but I might as well do it. Team Verizon says Juan Bagnell did some LG Velvet benchmarks earlier today. There you go. Something to check out, especially I know he's big on LG, right? I believe so. Okay, let me scroll down here. There's a lot of chat. Deepak is in here. Deepak Murthy. Hey, Jerome. Hey, Deepak. How's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Yeah, Tana says, okay, IP68 is cool. Decent spec so far. But yeah, Deepak also says not bad at all. That Velvet looks hot. I mean, that's the thing. It's a great looking phone. It really is. No face unlock 2. Oh God, why? Slow in-display fingerprint readers are irritating. They are. That is, and for me, honestly, I feel like that's kind of a deal breaker. Yeah, fingerprint sensors in 2020 have to be quick at least. For real. Maybe they're accounting for that mask life. I don't know. I really don't know. Probably to cut costs. I really want LG to succeed. I think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us just want other companies to have some good, decent phones out there, just to also give us competition and give us an option of like what we could buy. Tectonic is in here as well. Hello, my best friends. Well, hello, best friend. Hey, Tectonic. Nice to have you in the stream. Glad you can make it, man. Okay, let's see here. Deepak says, I got an LG G7. The software is not bad, a bit cartoonish. Thank you for sharing that. Brian also says, I'm okay as long as I can use Nova and change icons, but the lack of security and OS updates make an LG purchase hard. I mean, I can't argue with that at all. Paul says, I used a G2 for 4 years. God, I don't even know what a G2 is like. I've never used. My first G series was the G5, but I tinker much. Why I got a 7 Pro now, so always custom ROM, so no experience with LG updates. Thank you for sharing. I love tech a lot. Hey, I love tech a lot. I think it's been a minute since I've seen you. Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you again. I have a Galaxy S20 Ultra that I bought a week ago, and the phone sucks. Thank you for being so candid. Thank you for sharing your experience. My OnePlus 7T takes better pictures, in my opinion. Man, wow. That's a big statement there. I think cheaper phones are getting better and expensive phones suck. It's hard for me to spend the money on. It's hard for me to spend money on more than $1,000 phones, but that might be happening soon. If you guys don't know already where I'm going with that, but I won't get into that now. I love tech a lot. Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Team Verizon says, I wish I had a rear mount fingerprint scanner though. Not going to lie. And that's how I feel. I still feel like, it upsets me with my Pixel 4. I just wish my Pixel 4 had a fingerprint rear scanner or a rear fingerprint scanner on it. I feel like I would recommend that phone more if it had that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on the face unlock on the Pixel 4, but I really would have loved to have a rear fingerprint scanner on it. Brian says G2 had real small bezels for its time. That's good to know. I never had that. I have no idea. Yeah, because it can't focus. Talking about the S20 Ultra there. Okay, so let's go back in here. Again, thank you. Oh, Brian with the $1 super chat. Brian, thank you so much, man. Brian, thank you for that continued support. Thank you for always supporting. You know how I feel. You know how that saying goes. Brian, always with the streak of super chats. Thank you again, Brian. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being a moderator. Thank you for always helping out, man. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much, man. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go back into it. The Velvet's photo processing woes, mainly the over sharpening of shots from the main camera, can absolutely be addressed in software, which is good to know. Should LG choose to, but at present, there are plenty of other handsets around this price point that'll get you a better photographic experience. Again, something to think about. $700 for a phone. If a camera is your top priority, then maybe the LG Velvet is not right for you. The competition. The sub-flagship I love that they have a section for competition. That's good to know. The sub-flagship category is one of the most competitive segments of the Android phone space right now. While we don't have exact US pricing of the LG Velvet just yet, the phone sells in Korea for around $730 US, which would put it up against the OnePlus 8 and a handful of older 2019 flagships like the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. OnePlus's offering has a similar camera setup, wide, ultra wide, depth sensing, though it doesn't suffer from any of the processing issues mentioned earlier. Its 90 Hz display is also significantly quicker and more responsive than the LG Velvet's 2. If you're in the US, though, your 5G options may be limited by this model. The OnePlus 8 also can't do wireless charging and lacks the Velvet's IP68 rating for water and dust resistance. The S10 Plus is more than a year old, packs a 60 Hz screen, IP68, wireless charging, and it's still likely to be updated more reliably than the LG Velvet, while also packing a superior triple camera setup with true telephoto zoom. Neither, of course, boasts the Velvet's main attraction, the dual screen attachment. But if your heart is set on that feature, the somewhat more expensive LG V60 ThinQ provides dual screen capabilities in a more competent all-round smartphone. I'm glad that Android Central is taking the time to at least be like, hey, if you want it, here's what is good about it. But if not, you have other options. I'm glad to see them do that. Should you buy it? Great. I love to see this. Who it's for. If you want a dual screen experience for less, if 5G connectivity is important, but you don't want to pay a lot, please do not buy this phone because you need 5G connectivity. If all day battery life matters more than a smooth display, if you really, really want a 3.5mm headphone jack, who it isn't for, if you're a big photographer, if you want the latest Android platform updates quickly, if you want the smoothest Android experience, the LG Velvet is a mixed bag. It's a phone with striking good looks, a modern chipset, 5G connectivity at a reasonable price. Some of its compromises are understandable. You don't necessarily expect the fastest screen or super quick charging around the $700 mark. Although I will say at $700, I would really want a really good camera. I feel like at that point, iPhone 12, Pixel 5, $700. I don't see why, if camera is your top priority, I don't see why you would buy a different phone at that point when you have those other options there. And it's a great way to get in on LG's most promising feature in years. The dual screen attachment is fun, useful, and something the company should keep pursuing. But other flaws like the camera processing issues are tough to justify in any modern smartphone. Photography is such a core feature in any smartphone at any price point, and the Velvet's current image processing issue makes it hard to recommend to anyone serious about phone photography. That leaves a pretty narrow audience for the Velvet, which emerges as a decent mid-range offering with only one real standout feature and a handful of compromises. Maybe it's for you, but you should take a long, hard look at the competition before committing. And oh my God, I did not realize this took 52 minutes to talk about. I knew this was going to be longer. I didn't realize it was actually going to get that in depth, but it's a good conversation to have. And at least for you guys who have been considering the LG Velvet, the reason I went through this entire article is because I was curious myself to how good this Velvet was going to be or could be. I think Android Central is kind of on point by calling it a mixed bag. I believe it probably is a mixed bag at this point. Again, this is one article. I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of other ones, but if I know tech sites properly, I feel like they all feed off of each other and kind of say the same thing. But I'm not saying that he's taking this from anyone else. This is his own article, obviously, with his own opinion. And I mean, at least from what I'm reading and what he's saying here, I feel like I believe it. I don't think I completely disagree with a lot of it, a lot of what he's saying in here. So, okay. Deepak is saying the G4 took excellent photos. I never had the G4. Good to know, though. LG at least got a good manual mode. That's a good point, too. Too bad most people don't know how to wield that power. Yeah, I feel like just a lot of people who have phones just want to point and shoot. But you're right. If you have that capability, you should take advantage of it. Paul says, yeah, really liked it back then. Too bad I hard bricked it and had to resolve to soldering. You had to solder it to unbrick it? Oh my God. That's more effort than I would do. I haven't soldered in a long time. That was back in college when I would solder. I haven't really messed with anything like that in a while. Deepak says I had two G4s stuck on boot loop. Was the first G4 not good enough, Deepak? You had to boot loop a second one. Or did they give you one? I don't know. Team Verizon says, guys, what is with LG's manufacturing that caused boot loops throughout various models? Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if it's just quality control or what. There had to be a flaw there, and I don't really know. A lot of the mainstream sites have been hard on LG lately, in my opinion. I don't know. I put custom ROMs on all my devices, even the S7. Hey, man, I'm glad you do that. I can't wait to, I need to do that. I just haven't had time. So, okay. Wow, we're already an hour in. I might as well spend a little more time. I do have I have work to do later today too, but I want to go through these other articles, not all of them, but maybe we'll go through some of these tomorrow. But really quick, for anyone in the stream who's still here, if you guys haven't, please like the stream. Liking the stream helps in an algorithmic kind of way, aka I think it helps people find the stream, helps people like come talk and chat, have a discussion. It's always nice to have. And then really quick, if you guys don't know, I stream weekdays at 2 p.m. Central. So if you guys want to get notified about that, please hit that subscribe button, be a subscriber, join the team, the Phone Jerome fam, or whatever you want to call it. And last but not least, if you are in here, you see people in the stream that has green in their name, they have a red Chicago star next to their name, they're using custom emoji. That is because they are part of the Phone Jerome fam, and you could be one too. All you got to do is click that join button. This is for YouTube. I know I'm streaming on Facebook, but I don't think anyone's watching on Facebook right now. Anyway, all you got to do is click that join button on YouTube. And then you can also do so for as little as 99 cents a month. You will get the green in your name. You'll get the red Chicago badge, and you'll get to use custom emoji. If you can't find it, you can go to youtube.com/Phone Jerome /join. Either way, I know times are tough, so I understand if you can't. Just being in here and supporting is already super great and super appreciative. So thank you guys for that. Just appreciate you guys being in here. So, let me see here. Brian was saying it was the main board connectors coming apart from the Snapdragon, Crapdragon 808 and 810. Thank you. I wasn't even really aware of what was going on with that. I had many quality control problems with LG phones. Deepak says 0 issues with Samsung. Samsung's hardware is way superior to LG in the smartphone business. ACs, washing machines, refrigerators are etc. are both on par. That's good to know. I don't think I've ever owned an LG appliance. No, not that I can think of. I think the only thing I've really was in Chicago, we own a lot of window unit air conditioners. Maybe I had an LG of that, but not for long. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. Let us go ahead and continue on here. We're going to talk about the Nord. If you don't know what the Nord is, apparently this is OnePlus's new name for their upcoming phone, which is coming out in July, or at least being announced in July. Their mid-range phone, something that'll be cheaper than the OnePlus 8 or OnePlus 8 Pro. Why Nord? I think Selwonk mentioned it earlier. Nord is a region where CEO Pete Lau is from. Am I saying that right, Selwonk? I don't know if he's in here anymore. But I don't think I've seen anybody talking about why they called it that. And Selwonk was I think, first person to actually comment about why it's called the Nord. But it seems like every day the supposed name for OnePlus's upcoming affordable phone changes. It was initially referred to as the OnePlus 8 Lite, then the OnePlus Z. This week, it's apparently confirmed via a premature Instagram post that the name of the phone is Nord. Honestly, I don't even know what Nord refers to, so I'm just going to ignore the name for now. This info comes from a OnePlus-backed Instagram account that appears to have posted up a photo a bit too early. The photo details cards that referred to the first 100, which we suppose means the first 100 buyers. Another card somewhat clearly reads Nord over and over. I can't help but hope this is some internal name that OnePlus is having fun with. But again, it's whatever. It doesn't come off as the most marketable of names, but we'll see. Maybe it won't matter since OnePlus says its new phone with a more, quote, accessible price will be limited. OnePlus makes no sense sometimes. Who here is ready for some Nord? And so I believe this is what says Nord right here. Nord. I don't think it says it anywhere else, but I believe that's how they found it. So, yeah, not the most exciting news, but I just thought I'd share it since we've been talking about the Z, the 8 Lite, and now the Nord. Again, another article from 9to5 Google just to kind of like double down. OnePlus confirms Nord name for the phone we previously knew as the Z. While it didn't show up alongside the 8 series, it's been known for a while that OnePlus has been working on a new, more affordable Android smartphone. The Nord name has popped up before today, with tipster Max J mentioning the name on Twitter earlier this month. At first glance, the name can obviously inspire a lot of doubt, but it turns out it's what the company settled on. In a post to its new OnePlus Z Lite Thing Instagram account, OnePlus inadvertently confirmed this name. The post, since deleted and replaced, was captured by and shared by some Twitter users. So yeah, I'm not gonna beat on the bush for Nord. Beat the horse, whatever. I'm not gonna keep talking about this name because that's what it is. It's not too much to talk about here. Let me scroll up here. Paul says, with a little bit of luck tomorrow, it's not Nord anymore. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it'll be something else. RSILINNYC says, if I'm not mistaken, the Snapdragon processors were causing boot loops like with the Nexus 6P, also with the 5X. Yeah, I guess you guys are right. And luckily, mine didn't do that. My Nexus 6P is still working pretty well. I know I had a friend that I convinced to get a Nexus 5X and then his boot looped. So sorry about that. Let's see here. Deepak says, Brian, I could cook sausages with that Snap 810 inside the LG Flex. Team Bry says, Jerome, I just noticed your chill summer shirt, man. Thank you. It's it's all very like florally. It's not something I typically wear, but now that I've lost weight and I can kind of wear whatever, I'm kind of like branching out. And I think the shirt was $4 because it's a kid shirt, because I'm that's small now that I have to wear kid shirts. Anyway, yeah, there's a nerd joke in there somewhere referring to the OnePlus nerd. There you go. Paul says, so a 2-for-1 phone and a sausage maker. Yes, a sausage maker. Yeah, while it's being a phone. And then who knows how long it'll be a phone for after that. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. And you know what? I might just like kind of like do 2 more and then cap it, because I have a lot to finish up today. So this article real quick, also another article from 9to5 Google, is some Google Fi subscribers can no longer use Hangouts for SMS. You want to talk about the death of Hangouts? I mean, it's been around for a while, but now it looks like if you are on Google Fi, you can no longer use Hangouts for SMS. Do any of you guys still use Hangouts? I use Hangouts because I have a lot of friends who still use it, who don't want to switch over, and I use Hangouts for SMS. So once they kill that, I don't know what I'm going to do. In May 2017, the vast majority of Android users lost the ability to use Hangouts as an SMS MMS client. Google Fi subscribers were exempted, but that support could be coming to an end as the eventual deprecation of classic Hangouts nears. Quite a few Fi users today have been prompted with a SMS is moving out of Hangouts message inside the app. Well, okay, I guess I take that back, because I use SMS in Hangouts, but I use it for Google Voice. So yeah, never mind. Excuse my, it's different for me. As some temporarily encountered the warning, Google's note has been that this change doesn't affect Google Fi users. That said, things might be changing, as some, but not all Fi users are saying that they've lost the ability to receive and send text messages with Hangouts. Hangouts no longer appears under the default SMS app menu in Android system settings. Given that classic Hangouts is on its way out, this is likely an intentional move on Google Fi's part. Earlier this month, the Hangout the Hangouts to Google Chat migration started in earnest for G Suite users. By, quote, late 2020, don't hold your breath, the classic service will no longer be available to enterprise customers. Once that is complete, Google's attention will turn to free accounts still using Classic Hangouts. The company in early 2019 said that consumers would be migrated to a free version of chat. I don't want to get too much into this. I wish Google just had continued on with Hangouts, improved on it, used the features that they put in Allo and Duo and made it an all-in-one encompassing messaging service. Then that way I would have never switched over to Telegram. That is way, way, way superior than what Hangouts is now. Hangouts hasn't been updated in over half a year, if not close to a year at this point. And whenever this migration happens, because at this point we don't know, I don't even know who's going to be using it at that point. Why would I even get anyone to come back to it? Or like the only people that'll be using it are the people that I initially had people use it at the very beginning. Otherwise, I don't see myself using it. I always ask people if they have Telegram, and I'll usually message them that way. And I know it's hard to get people to switch over, especially with RCS coming, and then there's iMessage and all that kind of stuff. But Hangouts or whatever Google Chat is probably going to be the last thing that I get people to move over, because until Google shows me that they can actually stick with something for a longer period of time will be the day that I actually will start recommending it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So Team Fry says, I never used it. You never used Hangouts ever? Hangouts has been around for a while. You never used, what were you using then? Just Android messages? Or are you just a lot younger than I am and you just started getting into phones, Team Varai? Brian says, I don't use Hangouts, but I'm on Google Fi. I guess they just buried Hangouts for me. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to use it anyway. Is it another soul claimed by the Google Grim Reaper? Yeah, apparently so. So, all right. Let us kind of close things up here, and we'll talk about the iPhone 12. This article from Mashable says the iPhone 12 will include a 20-watt charger. Report says, if you're not aware, currently the iPhone 11, which is a great phone at a decent price, what am I trying to say, has a really crappy, God, I hate saying the word crappy. I don't use the word crappy, but I just don't want to swear because I don't want to get demonetized because YouTube hates me. YouTube, please, I didn't mean that. Don't demonetize this again. I don't want to. Okay. Right now, the iPhone 11, what I'm trying to say, comes with a 5-watt charger. Even though the iPhone 11 is a great phone, it has a really slow charger that it comes with. The dinky charger that's come with all iPhones for the past, I don't know how many years. But it looks like the iPhone 12 will come with a faster charger, a 20-watt one. Right now, the iPhone 11 Pro comes with an 18-watt charger. So my question is, will the iPhone 12 Pro come with an even faster charger? I don't know. So let's see. Now we've seen the latest version of iOS unveiled. Sorry, let me make this a little bigger. Let me increase this too. The latest feature to leak is Apple's apparent decision to upgrade the charger, included with at least some of the iPhone 12 models, to be a 20-watt adapter. As 9to5Mac reports, the new power adapter was photographed by Twitter user Mr. White, who's known for sharing details of Apple's hardware, both old and new. In a couple tweets, we get to see the new USB-C power adapter in a transparent casing, but also in the classic Apple white finish with a clear 20-watt point printed on it alongside the Apple logo. The iPhone 11 included a 5-watt charger, but Apple decided to upgrade the iPhone 11 Pro to an 18-watt USB-C. We've previously reported that Apple may not include earpods with the iPhone 12, so the cost saving from doing that could warrant a 20-watt charger in the box for even the cheapest 5.4-inch model. However, the earpods saving could just as easily be helping to pay for some novel new feature, or helping cover the cost of shipping a handset that's thought to look like a small iPad Pro. So that's it. Just I don't know if anyone's in the market for the upcoming iPhone 12, but I would rather have a fast charging brick, to be honest with you, than earpods. Like, I would rather have that. If you're going to take one out, if you're going to give me a really cheap charger that I'm never going to use anyway, or a fast charger or a fast charging brick, I'd rather take that over earpods. Because one, I don't use earpods. Two, I don't use the small dinky charger. And yeah, that's how I feel about it. And I think really that's about it. So let me see here. Team Verizon says just SMS. Hangouts wasn't much of a thing back then when I lived in the Philippines. Oh, fair enough. I would feel that most people were using WhatsApp, right? Was WhatsApp the app to use? You know me, I've been a Google person for so long. So when Google made Hangouts, I'm just like, everyone needs to use Hangouts. It's the greatest. It's the greatest. You don't see me saying that much anymore. Deepak says Hangouts is old school here in Europe. WhatsApp and Telegram rule. There you go. Team Bryce says I'm definitely not young, hitting 30 soon. Younger than me. So you have that going for you. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for today. I think that's all I got for today. So with that being said, I do want to thank everybody for stopping by. Not a ton of stories today, but I thought the LG Velvet was a good story to at least discuss and have a good discussion on. I don't know how much stuff we're going to get as far as news tomorrow, but I do want to real quick mention as well, Friday, guys, Friday night is usually when we have Friday Night Tech Talk, but this Friday night, it's going to be on my channel at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then I don't know what other times. So I'm sorry, guys, because I don't know what the times are all around everywhere else around the world. But this coming Friday is going to be Friday Night Tech Talk on my channel, and hopefully we'll get the whole cast coming on. Grant is actually going to be on the show. George will be on it, Mobile Geezer. Ted, Saeed will be on it, and hopefully Will be on it, and Mike. Joker Tech, Simply Your Device will be on it as well. So it'll be a full cast. I have special things planned. Going to do it a little differently. Typically we read news kind of like what I do here, but I actually want to have like a good discussion, maybe an argumentative discussion, but I'm looking forward to it. So you guys should at least tune in and check it out if you guys are able to. I don't know what time it is for you guys there, but it will be Friday night. So at least it's on the weekend. So maybe it'll give you time if you're going to be up late to check it out. It should be fun and it'll be different, and you'll get to see me like interact with other people, and I won't be hogging the mic the entire time. So hopefully it'll be something that you guys would appreciate. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining today. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the my outro, so give me a second while I do that. But guys, again, I do appreciate you stopping by. It's always fun to have a whole crew here, just talk about tech and have a discussion, and talk about what's new. And it also keeps me on my toes about what's going on in the tech world. So tomorrow, though, I will be back 2 p.m. Central. So come back again. We'll do it all over again. And that's it. So with that being said, here comes the outro, guys. I will see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central. Come back. See you then. Have a good one.